So what are the two examples we are discussing? So we are discussing imbibition examples. Of course, there are so many examples are there, but mainly we are discussing what? We are discussing one is called absorption of water by dry wood. Right, what is the other one? We take a dry seed germination. Okay, what are the two important examples? We take absorption of water by dry wood. What is other example? Dry seed germination. These two are very important, right? Now let us listen. You know, let us take in winter season. In winter season, what do you observe? Swelling of wooden doors and windows. Very common observation. So practically if you take in winter season, what happens? Rain water will fall. Very common day to day application. What is the day to day application? Very common, you know, when wooden doors are there in winter season, they will not fit into the frame, right? Swelling of wooden doors and windows happens when they happen in the winter season. So what happens in this case? Let us take, this is a dry wood. Let us take, this is a dry wood, or let me write towards this side. So let me write on the other side. Let us see the process inside. So this is nothing but a dry wood. So whenever rainfall is there, so what happens here? Imagine some amount of water is there here. So this is water. So you know that solid here, it's very solid. That means solid particles are so compactly arranged. Let us take that. Inside the window, solid particles are so compactly arranged, very compactly arranged, very tight they are arranged. When the solid particles are arranged, so here solid particles are arranged compactly. Solid particles are arranged, or you can see compactly, compact arranged. Solid particles are arranged compactly. Okay, so when you take solid particles are arranged compactly, meaning what here? Now you can see water is absorbed here. So here water is absorbed only on the surface. Water is absorbed and penetrated only on the surface. So this is called surface adsorption. What do we call this? Surface adsorption. Adsorption, not absorption. AD we call adsorption. Why do you call this adsorption, not D? Adsorption, because this phenomenon of absorption of water occurs only on the surface. You can see with some pressure, so pressure is created, and this pressure is called as imbibition pressure. This pressure is called as what? Imbibition pressure. With some pressure, water enters inside and the absorption occurs only on the surface. Water cannot penetrate inside. Why? In this, solid particles are arranged compactly, very tightly they are arranged. All solid particles are arranged so tightly, compactly they are arranged. So absorption occurs only on the surface. So it's called surface adsorption. That is why swelling occurs only on the corners. So if you take the wooden doors or wooden windows, you know they will be like this. Frame will be like this, but door will get some swelling like this. So when door will get here, this is a door, this is a frame. So when door gets some swelling due to surface adsorption, the door will not fit into the frame. Very common daily practical example. In winter season, if you are pushing the door, you have to apply so much of pressure to push the door into the frame. Similarly, in windows also, you have to push the window to fit into the frame. Otherwise, it will not fit. Why? surface adsorption. Water occurs here only on the surface. It's called surface adsorption. That means what we can say here, imbibition depends on, for imbibition depends on affinity between adsorbent and liquid, adsorbent and the liquid. So very important point. I repeat again, note down this point, it's a note point. Okay. So imbibition depends on what two factors? Adsorbent and the liquid. Who is an adsorbent here? Who is an absorbent here? In this we talk about wood. What is a liquid here? Here we talk about water. Remember the statement. What is that? Imbibition depends upon affinity. What is affinity? Interaction. Interaction between what and what? Interaction between, affinity between adsorbent and liquid. What is adsorbent? Wood is the adsorbent. What is a liquid? Water is a liquid. So when water and the wood both are interacted here, what occurs here? It's called as imbibition. Okay, so why do we say this point here? Here water is entering across the wood, right? And this is a prerequisite. So this is a prerequisite for imbibition. I is nothing but imbibition. This is a minimum requirement for imbibition to happen. Okay, what is that? Affinity between. What is a prerequisite? Sometimes you will get the question. What is the prerequisite for imbibition? That means affinity, interaction between adsorbent, this is adsorbent, and the liquid. So affinity between these two, interaction between these two is a prerequisite for imbibition to happen. Right. And similarly, you can also take that imbibition also depends on. Here you can also write one more thing, also depends on. What you can write? Water potential gradient. Better I will write this statement upper side. I will write again here. I will just write. So here imbibition depends on water potential gradient. Water potential gradient. Between what and what? Between adsorbent and liquid imbibed. So here adsorbent and the liquid imbibed. So what is this water potential? So we write this is water potential. Two statements are very important. What are the two statements? One is this. Again I repeat, two statements are important. What is the first statement? Imbibition depends upon affinity or interaction between adsorbent and liquid. Right. That is prerequisite. That is a prerequisite for the imbibition to make it happen. What is the second one? Imbibition also depends upon water potential gradient between adsorbent and imbibant. What is imbibant? Liquid. Imbibed or imbibant, both are same. Okay, so it depends upon the type of liquid entering inside and also depend upon the nature of adsorbent. Why do we talk these 2 points? Because see, if you take the dry wood and water, it's well and fine. Dry wood and water, what occurs is called as imbibition. For example, let me take what is called, I am writing here for imbibition I am taking. So here water cannot enter, cannot imbibe with rubber. That means water cannot undergo imbibition with rubber. Why? The affinity between adsorbent and liquid is prerequisite. Here water cannot enter into rubber. Why? Because there is no affinity. There is no water potential gradient between water and rubber and no affinity between water and rubber. For example, if you take kerosene, if you take, kerosene enters into rubber. Kerosene can imbibe with rubber. That means if you take the water and rubber, no imbibition. Imbibition cannot occur because no affinity and no water potential gradient. Suppose if you take kerosene, it can imbibe with rubber. That means there is affinity between kerosene and rubber. There is a water potential gradient between kerosene and rubber. Kerosene is the imbibed liquid. What is that? Kerosene. Adsorbent, nothing but rubber. Adsorbent and the liquid imbibant, affinity between these two, water potential gradient between these two are very, very important for the imbibition to happen. That is why we have one more statement also here. We can say imbibition happens in solids rather than that of solids. Okay, so here what's happening here? We say imbibition occurs in solids rather than that of solids. That means here solid, if it is wood, imbibition occurs at a faster rate. That means imbibition wood with water in some solids occurs at a higher rate when compared with other type of solids. What is the other type of solids? For example, you can take rubber, you can take iron, you can take some other material. So if you take sponge also, for example, if you take sponge with water, in sponge absorption occurs at a higher rate. Sponge absorption of water occurs at a higher rate. In some solids it occurs at a higher rate rather than that of means what? When compared to this, it occurs at a lower rate in some other type of solids. Maybe if you take dry wood and water, here absorption occurs only on the surface. So sponge with water, higher rate. Dry wood with water at a lower rate. Here sponge is also solid, dry wood is also solid, but in some solids it occurs at a higher rate rather than that of some other type of solids where it occurs at a lower rate. Imbibition in solids rather than that of solids. Guys, you have to remember three important statements. One is affinity between adsorbent and liquid, prerequisite, first statement. What is the second statement? Depends upon water potential gradient between adsorbent and liquid, second statement. What is the third statement? Imbibition in solids rather than that of solids. Three statements are very, very important. So where are we here? We are in the absorption of water by dry wood. It is called surface adsorption. Hope you got it, right? So this is nothing but dry wood. Dry wood is being used by early prehistoric man for breaking of boulders and sand dunes. That is a very important point you have to remember for absorption of water by dry wood. All these points are very, very important. Now let us go with the next one. What is the next example we have to study? That is imbibition, what we find in case of a dry seed germination. Right. So what is the first example we completed? Absorption of water by dry wood. What is the second thing we have to start now? Dry seed germination. So let us study now a dry seed germination. So this is a second example. Okay. Now when you take the dry seed germination, now what we have to study here? Seed, as I told you very clearly, seed is somewhere in the layers of the soil, right? But seed has to break all the layers of the soil and should undergo the process called germination. How do you get such a small tiny seed? how do you think it break the very thick and tough layers of soil? How do you think it come out as a small young plantlet? That is what we are discussing. Imbibition, it happens through imbibition. What did I say? A dry seed absorbs water, and here the pressure is created. Water creates the pressure, and that pressure is called imbibition pressure. This pressure makes it to germinate across the soil layers. That is what we are discussing, dry seed germination. Now how do you prove this? For example, you can take pea seeds, put it in water. So you know that pea seeds, put it in water. This is a pea seed. One beaker you take, beaker containing water. So let us take, this is beaker with water. Take another beaker with water and put wheat grain. Okay, so this is wheat seed, right. So here this is water, beaker with water. What are we studying now? We are studying that soaking of seed, soaking of dry seed into water. What are we discussing? Soaking of dry seed into water. What we took? Pea seed, we soaked into beaker containing water. Another beaker, wheat seed, we soak it into water. Let us put at the same time. Now after 48 hours, after 2 days, after 1 day, if you can see, we see that proteinaceous pea seed swell more in size, when compared with starchy wheat seed. Okay. So what you can see here, proteinaceous pea seed swell more in size when compared with the starchy wheat seed. That means what you have to understand here, if you take the pea seed will swell. This because more water it is taken, and when it takes more water, it causes more swelling. So here it causes excuse me, more water when it absorbs. It shows higher rate of imbibition because it absorbs more water, so it shows more swelling. And here it slightly swell, that means it absorbs less water. It absorbs less water, so you can see a less swelling. Okay, so if you look at here, it's a very common observation. It might be very clearly known that your mother in Varalakshmi Ratham, I think you guys very commonly see that pea seeds, they soak it in water 1 day before, right? At the time of Varalakshmi Ratham and all that, they give the chana or chana, exactly like chana. Chana, how do you keep and soak it in water? By next day you will become very swelling of chana, you can see, right? How chana will increase more in size, similarly pea seed also you can see more increase in size. But what happens when you keep the wheat seed? Wheat seed will swell very slightly. Very slightly means very slightly on the surface. Okay. So you can see very light swelling, slow swelling, but you can see here more swelling. That means here proteinaceous pea seed swell more in size when compared with starchy wheat seed. Proteinaceous pea seed more swelling when compared with starchy wheat seed. That means proteins have high imbibition rate. Proteins have high imbibition rate. They show a greater imbibition rate. Protein shows high imbibition rate when compared with the carbohydrates. Carbohydrate or starch in the wheat grain show low imbibition rate. Nothing, this is a good observation. When you take the pea seeds or chana you can take, because chana is also Fabaceae family. they are rich in proteins. Pea seed is also Pisum sativum, right? It's also Fabaceae. Generally in taxonomy you studied, Fabaceae members they show high rich in proteins. So in pea seed what you find is proteins. So but pea seed will swell more in size, or chana will swell more in size when compared with the wheat. Wheat is very light swelling. What is the reason means proteins have high imbibition rate because pea seeds contain more proteinaceous in nature. Pea seeds are more proteinaceous in nature, whereas where in this proteins have high imbibition rate. High imbibition means they undergo more imbibition rate. More imbibition means more surface absorption of water. More surface absorption of water means more swelling. Right. Similarly, when more swelling when compared to starchy wheat seeds. Now, if you take wheat seed, it is made up of starch. It is made up of starch. That means very slight swelling, very slight swelling. Why? Because carbohydrates or the starch will have low imbibition rate. So, the statement is very important, guys, remember. So, proteins have high imbibition rate when compared with the carbohydrates or starch, right. Now, if you take in terms, let us talk in terms of imbibition rate. Okay, this is very important. I hope you understood. Starch has lesser imbibition rate or carbohydrates has lesser imbibition rate when contains proteins. Proteins are having more imbibition, right. Now, let us talk about imbibition rate. When you take the imbibition rate, it is in the order of agar-agar. Agar-agar shows highest imbibition rate. Highest imbibition rate. Why it shows highest imbibition rate? Because 98 to 99% adsorption of water, or it absorbs water. Better you write down a statement which is having simple meaning. No need to make it as a big sentence here. Simply you can write down agar-agar, it absorbs 98 to 99% of water. Okay, it absorbs 98 to 99% of water. You know, in first year plant kingdom you studied agar-agar. You know, red algae, brown algae. Did you remember? Agar-agar is used in preparation of ice creams, jellies, colloidal substance we call. Did you remember? It's nothing but a colloidal substance. You know, it's called as seaweed, right? It's called seaweed. You know, it's like gel what we extract is used for cultivation of microorganisms. You remember, right? Used in ice creams, jellies and all that. What is that? Agar-agar. What you can do? Take the agar-agar, put it in water. It shows it will take 98% of it is completely takes water. Only 2% it will be fine with agar-agar. That means agar-agar completely dissolves in water. That's why agar-agar shows highest rate of imbibition. In its structure, 98% of water it will absorb. It will absorb 98%, means it shows high rate of dissolving. It dissolves at a higher rate. In the surface it shows 98 to 99% of water. It absorbs water. It is colloidal in nature, that is colloidal in nature. So, who shows highest rate means agar-agar. Then after agar-agar you can say that it is nothing but what we call proteins. Then we write pectins and we write what is called cellulose. Then we write what is called carbohydrates. Nothing but starch. This is nothing but order of imbibition rate. So, obviously when question comes which shows lowest rate of imbibition means starch or carbohydrates, which shows highest rate of imbibition means agar-agar. Agar-agar shows high rate of imbibition when compared with the proteins. Protein shows high imbibition rate when compared with the pectins. Pectin shows high imbibition rate when compared with the cellulose, and compared with the cellulose, carbohydrate shows lowest imbibition rate. Now, if you carefully observe, pectin and cellulose both are nothing but what? Cell wall materials. Both of them are nothing but what? They are nothing but cell wall materials. Did you remember? Right. Now, so here this is the imbibition rate we have to remember, very important. Let us discuss other examples of imbibition. Other examples of imbibition. Now, you can take it first year if at all, if you remember, you discussed what are called as epiphytes. What is the first example? Epiphytes. What are epiphytes here? You know, they grow on the branches of other plants. So, here if you take the branches, you remember, you find some are shorter roots it contain, smaller plants which grow on the branches of other plants are called as what? Epiphytes. Where do you find epiphytes? In case of orchids. In case of orchids. Did you remember? Right. What it contained? It contained what are called velamin roots. You know, velamin roots absorb water from atmosphere. Absorb water from atmosphere. All right, from atmosphere. Then by the process called imbibition. Absorb water, or sometimes they will give moisture. Okay, by the process called as what called velamin roots. I repeat again here, velamin roots they contain a special tissue called velamin, a dead hygroscopic tissue called velamin. Did you remember? What are the examples? Vanda, right? Vanda, orchids, all are nothing but what? Epiphytes. They contain two types of roots. What are they? Shorter ones are called clinging roots, longer ones are called velamin roots. What is the function of the velamin roots? Velamin roots, they absorb water or moisture from the atmosphere by the process called imbibition. In the first year you studied, what is that imbibition? This is nothing but the total story of imbibition. This is one example, epiphytes. And the second example is resurrection of Selaginella. Resurrection of Selaginella. What is resurrection of Selaginella? So, whenever Selaginella, it's been damaged by Selaginella, its leaf which is being damaged by herbivores or grazing animals. Removed. Grazing herbivores or grazing animals, they have eaten some part of the leaf. Okay, some part of the leaf is eaten by grazing animals. Once again, regrowth of the leaf occurs. So, leaf again grows here, leaf again grows here. So, regrowth occurs. Regrowth of leaf occurs by imbibition. Okay, so what you can see here, regrowth of the leaf, it occurs by the phenomena called imbibition. Now, coming to especially dry seed absorption of water into seed, this is also called as matric potential. This is also called as what? Matric potential. Talk about matric potential. So, let us recollect quickly here. So, what we are discussing? Dry seed germination. Let us quickly revise it. Soaking of the dry seed into water. We are taking into two beakers containing water. In one of the beaker we are soaking the pea seed, another beaker we are soaking what is called wheat seed. Okay. Now, proteinaceous pea seed swell more in size when compared with the starchy wheat seed. Starch is a reserve food material in wheat and protein is a reserve food material in pea. So, pea size is more swelling when compared with the wheat. Why? What is the reason? Why? Because proteins have high imbibition rate greater than carbohydrates or starchy wheat seeds, because starch shows low imbibition rate. Now, if you take the imbibition rates, Agar-agar shows highest rate of imbibition because it absorbs 98 to 99% of total water, because it is a colloidal substance, right. And agar-agar is greater imbibition, it shows when compared with proteins, and proteins are greater than pectins, pectins are greater than cellulose, cellulose is greater than carbohydrates and starch, right. What are the other examples of imbibition? You know, first year you studied epiphytes, example vanda, orchids we say. They grow on the branches of other plants, right. They absorb water from atmosphere or moisture from atmosphere by the process called imbibition, by the dead hygroscopic tissue called velamin. Velamin is present in velamin roots, they are longer roots, and shorter ones are called clinging roots, right. Now coming to resurrection of Selaginella. Whenever Selaginella leaf is eaten by grazing animals, its beak got broken or the leaf got damaged, some part is removed, broken, then regrowth of the leaf occurs by absorbing moisture content from the surrounding by the process called imbibition, right. Now let us continue with the next example, matric potential we say. Now talks in terms of dry seed. Now if you take it imbibition, what we are discussing? Imbibition. Now absorption of water by solids or colloids, it is called as what? Imbibition. What is the definition we learned? Absorption of water by solids and colloids is called imbibition. This can be measured with matric potential. Matric potential, that is nothing but psi m. Okay, what is water potential? Absorption of water, movement of water from one place to other place. Movement of water from one place to other place is called water potential. Did you remember? Similarly, potentiality, ability of the water entering into solids, movement of water into solids or colloids, it also contains its ability to move water, it is called as matric potential. What is called as matric potential, which we call it as psi m. So you see the xanthium, you know xanthium you studied, did you remember in photoperiodism you studied xanthium. What is xanthium? Xanthium is a short day plant. Xanthium is a short day plant. Xanthium shows highest matric potential. Okay, so what is that highest matric potential? That is minus 1000 megapascals. Okay, so this I will write here like this. Which shows highest matric potential means xanthium. You remember xanthium we studied, it is a short day plant which shows the growth less than critical period. It is called short day plant. Xanthium is the one which shows highest matric potential, that is minus 1000 megapascals of matric potential was recorded in case of xanthium. This is totally what we call imbibition. Most commonly the question will occur in the NEET. Okay, so the imbibition rates you try to remember, epiphytes you remember, resurrection of Selaginella and matric potential of xanthium. Okay, this is all up to what is called imbibition. So far what are the processes we discussed? We discussed about imbibition, right? Imbibition, it's a, what you have written, type of diffusion. When you write it's a type of diffusion, what's the meaning here? Is meaning that it's a passive transport. It's a passive transport. Let us compare. So far what we discussed diffusion. We discussed what is called diffusion. Diffusion is a phenomena most commonly occurs. Sometimes you will get the question that what is a special type of diffusion? Then you can write imbibition. Remember important statements, some statements are important. Imbibition is a special type of diffusion. Remember which all the processes which come under diffusion. Which processes are nothing but a type of diffusions. One is imbibition. So, what you have to remember, a special type of diffusion, passive transport. Okay. Now, here apart from this, then you can take what is called osmosis. Osmosis is also, we say, a type of diffusion. It is also a type of diffusion. That means what it comes is passive transport, no doubt at all. It comes under passive transport. You try to remember type of diffusion is osmosis you can take. A special type of diffusion means you have to take imbibition, right. Similarly, so far what we discussed is nothing but facilitated diffusion. Okay, facilitated diffusion. It is also a type of diffusion and it is a passive transport. But in facilitated diffusion, that means what is happening here? This all happens across the cell membrane. When you take the structure of the cell membrane, what you can see here, lipids are there. The substances which are soluble in lipids can easily possible. So here, which are soluble in lipids. Substances soluble in lipids, right. So, this is the substances. So, what occurs here? This is nothing but first one. So, substances which are soluble in lipids can pass across the membrane and this is what is called diffusion. Just clearly notify the differences, right. When carrier proteins are involved, so carrier proteins or membrane proteins, sometimes they are called membrane channels. Membrane channels means same carrier proteins. If the substances are moving through carrier proteins or through membrane channels, ion channels, one another same, then this is called as facilitated diffusion. Okay, this is called as facilitated diffusion. That means it is come under passive only. Sometimes these carrier proteins, they work like a pumps. What are pumps here? Carrier proteins plus energy. They take some ATP, they work with ATP. CP means carrier proteins plus energy. Then they are called pumps. Then these two are nothing but what? These two come under purely passive transport. Okay. So, if you take the passive transport, you can take symport, antiport and all that, right. So, here it may be symport, both molecules coming in the same direction. What you call this? Symport, right. One is coming, other one is going out. What you call this? Antiport. You can remember. Both are coming in the same direction, it is called symport. Both molecules are coming in the same direction, symport. One is coming inside, other one is going out, antiport. One molecule is passing and this is called what? Uniport. This is what is called uniport, right. Symport, antiport, uniport, all three types of passive transport. And carrier proteins uses energy in transportation of molecules. So, what do you call this? This is called active transport. What do you call this? This is with energy. So, it is called active transport. Similarly, whenever it happens across semi-permeable membrane, when it happens across semi-permeable membrane, then this is called osmosis, or it may be happening differential membrane, differentially permeable membrane, meaning it occurs, it allows only few molecules to pass, does not allow other molecules not to get past. This is osmosis. This is osmosis. Then moisture content is there. In case of wood, in case of dry seed, in case of epiphytes, that the same absorption itself is called imbibition. See, this is diffusion, this is facilitated diffusion, this is symport, this is antiport, this is only one molecule is moving, uniport, and this is carrier protein called facilitated diffusion. Diffusion and facilitated diffusion both will come under passive transport, right. Here carrier proteins with energy they are moving, active transport. Across the semi-permeable membrane or differentially permeable membrane, it is called as osmosis.